Time. The one true unit of measure. The one thing that gives us all proof of our existence. But what happens after that time? When the hours run out. When the clock takes its final toll. After hours.
Hello everyone, welcome to the After Hours podcast. I assume you're here on this specific episode because 1, we're famous, 2, you don't know what the fuck's going on, or 3, a mixture of the both. So before I begin, even explaining the concept of the cast or whatever, I'd like to give a massive shout out to the inspiration of today's episode and the future episodes to come, the Distractible Podcast. If you haven't seen or heard of them already, they're amazing people with amazing content, which I thought was hilarious and would like to give them full credit for that idea. However, I implement a similar concept, but with an original twist. All of their socials can be found in the description down below. And remember, if shit gets too confusing, feel free to replay the video a few times or comment down below any questions you might have. So, if you have literally nothing else better to do, get ready for this jam-packed, page-piling, tongue-twisting, brain... Just start it. Okay, so this is how the eps will work. The person who does the best each episode either gets to or chooses who makes the next intro-outro for the next episode. I thought it was a really cool idea because, why not? As the podcast progresses, the crew earns ritual tokens, RT, which is an original form of the podcast currency and can be cashed in for podcast abilities to either benefit yourself or curse other members of the cast. You can also buy the host role at a certain amount of ritual tokens, however the price for all the items in the store increase as the game continues. Mainly due to inflation, but you know later. Quick side note, the host role also does not change unless bought by another member. So yeah, there's that. There is a secondary point system like Conquest and COD, where the longer you're doing something in the same place, the more points you accumulate over time. In this case, the longer you're the host, the more points you'll be earning. This point form is called Conquest Chips, CCs for short, where the person with the most CCs gives a punishment to the rest of the podcast crew. By the way, CCs cannot be gained by guests. Yep, that's right, guests will eventually join in. Goddamn. Every episode, there'll be segments that earn tokens as well as spend said token. These segments will activate whenever the host decides during the episode of the podcast. At the end of every episode, there will be a judgment scene in which the best performing contestant is able to take X amount of tokens from a member for themselves, but also give half of the stolen tokens to a different member. X amount of tokens will be decided at the beginning of the episode with a majority rules. Yes, a majority rules. The overall podcast goal is to reach 1 million ritual tokens. Once the podcast has reached that threshold, whatever ep the millionth point was given will be the last podcast episode. Yep, hate to see it. And 1 million RT can be earned combined. So, example, everyone earns 250,000 RT. That's the end of the podcast. Just to give, the podcast an overall goal. There are 3 possible segments throughout each podcast episode. Token Wheel, Ability Store, and Judgment. A chance for each person to spin the wheel to earn extra tokens is the Token Wheel. The Ability Store, a one-time purchase the crew can make per episode. And Judgment, the host's ep finale, in which the give and take segment begins. Quick side note, no abilities may be used before or during said judgment. Whoops. Yep. That's right. I'm just gonna leave that in now. Here we go. Currency. The very thing that makes the world go round, and it's made its way here. Ritual tokens. These are accumulated by being funny or just making the host happy. Tokens are given only by the host and can be spent on benefits or curses. Benefits obviously benefit you, and curses can affect anyone else. But if you're our occasional lucky guest, curses cannot be used on you anyway, so go wild. The host also has the ability to take away tokens should the cast members be unsatisfactory or improper. Or just, overall boring. That works too. Just slide that in. Conquest Chips! CCs, on the other hand, build up as time continues as a host. 1 CC is given to the host at the beginning of every episode on the podcast. Whoever has the most conquest chips by a certain amount of time shall decide the fate of the other 3 podcast members. Which brings us to the very drive for earning CCs in the first place.
Yes, the punishment key.
Whoever has the most CC at the end of the time frame prepares a punishment that eventually ramps up in extremity. The person with the most points temporarily receives what is called the punishment key and spends one day as the punisher, creating one hell of an undesirable time for the 3 lower scoring members. We already have a few juicy punishments lined up for the future losers, so look forward to that. Finally, we have the most unique addition built into our podcast, saved at the very last, the ritual store. If it wasn't clear already, each person has a chance to buy something from the store every episode with the RT that they earn. There is a total of 12 benefits and 8 curses. You'll hear them shortly. I'll explain them using the prices for the first episode just so you all have an understanding of its potential value. So let's go through these items, beginning with the curses. First off, we have the Stuck Zipper. When cursed with this item, you can't earn tokens for a total of 5 minutes. Here's the purchase sound and the activate sound. Total price for this item is 2 RT. Next up, we have the Ripped Backpack. Lose a random number of RT every 20 minutes. Lasts for the entire episode.
Here's the purchase sound.
And the activation.
King of the Hill. Remove a CC from every other member. Fucking ridiculous. Here's the purchase sound and the activate sound. Total price of this item is 300 ritual tokens. Goddamn, shit's gonna go wild. Honey Trap. Cursed member can't speak for 2 whole minutes. Here's the purchase sound and the activate sound. Total price for this item is just a measly 2 RT. Discord Kitten, my favorite item. Cursed member has to end each sentence/reply with a high-pitched nya for 3 whole minutes. Here's the purchase sound and the activate sound. Total price for this item is just 3 RT. Siren Syndrome. Cursed member has to physically sing everything they say for 1 whole minute. Here's the purchase sound and the activate sound. Total price for this item is just 5 RT. Loyal Pooch. Cursed member has to answer everything you say or ask for 3 minutes. Essentially turning you into the guy when questioned who asked. Yes, it's basically that. Here's the purchase sound and the activate sound. Total price, 10 RT. Buy host. Here we go. This buys the host role for the next podcast episode. If 1 or more members also activates it at the beginning of the podcast, the wheel of host will be spun to choose who takes the role. When stashing this ability, which you can do, this ability auto-activates at the beginning of the next episode, or the episode without a host. If not chosen by the wheel of host, item will be lost from your backpack, essentially losing the whatever price it was to buy it. Yep. Here's the purchase sound and the activate sound. Total price for this item is 12 RT. Now, moving on to the next list, we have our wide range of benefits. Starting off, we have the pickpocket item. Every point earned by the cursed player after activation is given straight to you. Having 3 tiers, tier 1 lasts for 5 minutes, tier 2 lasts for 10, and tier 3 lasts for 15. Tier 1 for this example will cost 10 RT, next tier costs 20, and the last tier will cost 40. Here's the purchase sound and the activate sound. Slight reminder that the prices are never set in stone and will fluctuate every single episode. So, yep. Next up is one of our higher valued items called Jackpot. Essentially a 2 times multiplier for RTs earned after activation, and it lasts for an entire episode. Here's the purchase sound and the activate sound. Total price for this item is 350 RT. Ridiculous. Next item is Iron Vault. Keeps tokens secure and safe for 20 whole minutes. That's essentially like, I don't know, a third of the episode. Here's the purchase sound and the activate sound. Total price for this item is 100 RT. Next up, we have the Welding Torch, which is a slight gamble. Every token lost during the other member's Iron Vault is given to you. However, if points are not lost, your torch breaks in your backpack for the rest of the episode duration. So, for example, crew activates their Iron Vault and host tries to take away their points, but can't due to the item. However, any points that were meant to be taken away go straight to your pocket as profit instead. Here's the purchase sound and the activate sound. Total price for this item is 90 RT. The item after is a simple bottle of water. Rinses out the honey. What? Sounds useless. My bad. Did I forget to mention that the store segment only lasts for 2 minutes? Whoops. And since you have to physically say what it is you're buying, I guess you just won't be able to buy anything that episode, since your mouth is stuck with honey and all. Oh shucks. Goodness gracious, am I right? I hate this job. Here's the purchase sound and the activate sound. Total price for this item is just 4 RT. Next up we got Magic Mirror. Reflects the curse away. It has one use, auto activates, and when activated counts as a benefit used that episode. Here's the purchase sound and the activate sound.
What the dog doing?
Total price for this item goes for a whopping 350 RT. Fourth last we have Voodoo Doll. Both you and the cursor receive the same curse, but the duration is shared in half. Here's the purchase sound and the activate sound. Total price for this item is 50 RT. Third lastly, we have Spotlight. Prevents every other member from interacting with a whole segment. This obviously lasts one whole segment, and if 2 or more people activate it at the same time, then no one can interact with the segment and will be counted as being used. So decide who can use it that episode, or you will have both wasted a shit ton of tokens. Here's the purchase sound and the activate sound. The price for this one is, ready? Unknown! That's right, it's so ridiculously off the scale that I'm trying to figure out a fair price. But we will do that before episode 1 anyway, so don't worry about that. Don't get your freaking toes in a knot, lad. Mousetrap disables the pickpocketer's ability for 3 whole episodes. Auto activates when pickpocket is used on you. Here's a purchase sound effect and the activate sound effect. Total price for this item is 30 RT. Last but not least, we have the sewing kit. Yes, very, very mid. A counter to the curse patching up your backpack. Here's the purchase sound and the activate sound. Price, just 10 RT. Now, this system would be slacking without a few nerfs and caps to keep it fair. There we go. So let's go through that now. The max duration of an ability is 1 episode long. Each ability bought only has 1 use, but can be bought again. The same ability cannot be bought the same ep it was used, can only use 1 curse and benefit per episode. The only variable that changes over time is RT, not duration. You can only purchase 1 ability per episode. It is possible to store 1 of every ability. Abilities cannot be stacked. If curses contradict, then the most recent curse cancels out the former. And lastly, store prices changed beyond the first episode. And that concludes basically everything that you need to know for what's to be expected of this podcast. Confusing as hell, isn't it? I know. You'll get used to it. It's going to be a fun, hilarious, and just overall good time spent with friends anyway, so yeah, hope to see you all there. Till then, see ya.